Well, hello and welcome to Hello Chaos, the unfiltered podcast for founders in the messy middle. No fairy tales here, just the real grind, the grit, and the chaos of what it takes to start and build a business. Today on our show, we have Rebecca Rosselli, founder and CEO at Pivot or Die. She's a founder of an agency out of Austin, Texas. Welcome to the show, Rebecca. I appreciate you being on.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate you too.
Yeah. All right. So, we're, I think, like-minded spirits. We're both agency girls. So
Yeah.
I love the name. I love the name. So tell me, like, what's the background? What inspired you to start the agency and then the name? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that's kind of a similar story because the name does kind of say it all, right? Like if you're not evolving, you're finished, right? You're done,
Right.
right? And so I think that's kind of the ethos of the brand. And I mean, that's kind of where I was at when I started the business too. I was kind of in a little bit of a burnout, and I was in a little bit of a defiance and kind of rebellious time in my life. I was actually in the animation industry, so I was a storyboard artist, which is
Oh,
super fun.
yeah.
But yeah, like in right now, I had a different idea of what the animation industry was when I started. This would have been about 10 years ago.
Okay.
And I thought it was going to be like what I saw in the after feature episodes on, Pixar DVDs, where these guys are just all like super cool, like and I mean, everyone was super cool and collaborating and like just like driving Porsches and stuff. Like that's kind of what I thought it was going to be. But by the time I got into the business, I would say it was already starting to get quite automated. And I'm sure it's even more so now with
Yeah.
and a lot of it was kind of just like competing with overseas talent. And so it was just about running people ragged. Like I was there till 3 a.m. almost every day. And this is the beginning of my career. So I'm ready. But I started to notice, also the kids, the people with kids and the people with like the 40, 50, 60 year olds that are around me are also here till 3 a.m.
Yeah.
I was like, I have to kind of think of something different. So I think I wanted to stay in that kind of like corporate art zone. I wouldn't call
Kind of
that,
creative. Yeah.
yeah, not,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that it's like corporate, I guess is wrong, but I just mean like creative, but still,
You want to be in the creative economy in some way. Yeah.
yeah, not necessarily like I'm gonna just I didn't want to pivot too hard in terms of like I'm just gonna just go be a painter or something like that. But I was like, I want to stay in the commercial arts here.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I definitely had a knack for storytelling from animation. And I had a bit of a I don't know, I also do stand up on the side, so I was really like having fun and a lot of animation is like humor based and that kind of thing. And so I started to get more and more clients that were I started to think I'm just going to get a couple clients on my own. And so I went out and found some of my like friends who were also in my original like art program with me. I went to
Mhm.
Emily Carr University of Art and Design in Vancouver, and they had. So I remember one. Her dad was a realtor, and she really was like, "Hey, like I'm a great." I'm like, "You're great. Why aren't you gonna do? Why aren't you
Right.
gonna do all of his creative and everything?" And she's like, "Because it's my dad, and I'll off myself if I have to
Right.
continue to
I'm
work
too
with him."
close to it. This is not good if we have a conflict.
Yes, and I was like, "Okay, well, sure. I mean, why not?" And so started to just collect clients, started to like kind of learn some sales skills, and yeah, we were just, I think, really embracing like and celebrating change and adapting
Mhm.
and reinvent instead of just like clinging to what works. Like even with the realtors, they had a certain idea in their head of what
Right.
the way forward would be. And I don't know, we just like I added a lot of animation into his website, into his marketing, and we definitely, it was just small little shifts, like just, maybe
Yeah.
instead of a flyer, we start to create advertisements on the bars in like grocery stores, like the dividers, and
Just doing
just really
like, let's test, let's experiment, let's create, let's see if we can
yeah.
just. you know, get somebody's attention.
Exactly, and
Yeah.
so, I mean, that's just one example, but, like, yeah, that's kinda how it started. It was just, really out of yeah, like, if you're not evolving, you're done, like,
Right.
let's change
Pivot
things
or
up.
die.
Yeah, and I think I was in that moment myself too, right? I was like, "I better do this or I'm gonna be stuck." So, yeah.
Yeah. So
Hun
so when you dove into, all right, I'm starting this company, were there any perceptions that you had of okay, this is what I think running a company, or if I own my own company, it's this, but then you get into it and you're like, oh, I need to bust these myths.
Yeah, oh, interesting. I don't know, like, I think definitely there was, like, a goal of this, like,
Mm,
shiny, consistent work, for sure. I think maybe the beginning wasn't as shocking to me just because my dad is an entrepreneur and I had
okay.
so many businesses growing up. So I had like a garden at a company called Garden Girls with my friends and we would like garden. That was very like cash only, like not
Right.
dealing with taxes and stuff. So maybe the first thing I would say is like just this getting slammed at Christmas with taxes and then being like, "It's a very Merry Christmas," like, giving away all the giving away all my money for the first year maybe was a bit of a slap in the face, but I think and it's Canada, so they're high, and so I think that was probably the biggest, like, slap in the face, but getting back to, like, yeah, my dad was a scrappy entrepreneur.
Mm.
At Garden Girls taught me a lot of lessons, it's knocking on doors, want us to garden, like,
I love
rejection,
that.
all these things. There was one moment where I really thought, I was getting clients that were quite nice
Yeah.
people, and I got my first mean client, and,
Yeah. We have a no asshole rule we try to stick to. It's hard.
it's hard. Sometimes they trick you, but you get better at it, right?
That's
You
right.
definitely get better at it. That's a great policy, and great for your team, I'm sure, too, to kind of
Yeah.
all understand that
So
you're not getting
how
all
did
over.
you deal with that?
Oh, I had to,
Did
like,
you
trigger
fire him,
hanger.
or did you just kind of evolve it
Uh
and just
Oh, we were too dumb. We just fell for everything. Like, in the first we fell for all of his tricks. He was like, "Oh, no, like, I'll pay you in a little bit and, like, just do a little more, do a little
one of
more. Oh, I know the
those?
policy's this, but I can only pay you this much up front, and then
Yeah.
I'll get you the rest later." And it was probably, like, $800 or something silly,
Yeah.
like, I mean, enough that we would be worried as kids, but, like, not enough to, like, for an adult to who's building a business should probably have $800. So I think, it was a little silly, and then so we ended up, I think I ended up saying, like, "Okay, yeah, like, we'll give you this," what did we say? Oh, yeah, we were like, "Well, we are here. We're at your house," and, like, we, like, showed up in front of his house, and then we were just like, "We're not leaving until you give us
Till
the
we
next
get
thing," and then
our
he,
money.
like, shyly peeked out and, like, gave us the last $400 and went back inside shyly, and I was like, "Yeah!" So I don't know, that was maybe one moment where we were like things like that where you just don't expect I kinda just that's probably one of the bigger ones. I just kind of expected that people would just when they sign I get people say no to a
Right.
proposal, right? But if you say yes and it's so clear what the terms are, I
Right.
didn't really expect people would try to mess with
That
that.
was a big aha for me of that there are people out there that do, you get the proposal, they sign right on the contract, and they're making a bet that's their mindset of, I'll pay you a little bit, but I'm not going to pay you the full for whatever reason,
Yeah.
and I'm going to take the bet that you're not going to sue me.
Yes, yes.
Like
I think
they're just
so.
hoping that you just kind of write it off and go, I'm never going to collect. It's
Yeah,
never going to happen.
yeah,
And that's what they're betting on, because it's like 90% of small businesses don't. They don't have the funds
yeah.
to go after people. So
So
yeah,
that
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 was
made a
a
lot shift, right? Like,
yeah, that was a
yeah,
huge lesson for
yeah.
us. Like, as our lawyer called it, we got our MBA. And she was like, you've got to be careful
Love
in
that.
your vetting that there are people, that
Take
just
advantage.
they take advantage. They prey on small businesses,
Yeah, yeah. We
especially
should
in the
for our
creative
college.
world, like architects, engineers,
Yes.
marketing agencies, accounting firms, like anything in that professional services,
Yeah.
small businesses. Yeah, yeah,
We had
there
we had
are people
somebody
out
else
there.
do a big, chargeback once, and I had to learn about how that existed, and then I thought, "Oh, maybe credit cards aren't a great policy anymore." I thought that was the magic solution, but
Right.
I think all of those, like you said, that I love that you earned your MBA, like, that's
Yeah.
absolutely true, and I think actually, like, an MBA can be kind of overrated because once you're in it, you just
Oh,
that's how you learn, and I think, like, as just we kind of won in that scenario where we showed up to their house and just, like,
right.
didn't leave. We're like, "Eventually, you'll have to leave for groceries, sir,
That's
and we're
right.
not leaving. There's 2 of us, so we can take turns going to the bathroom. We'll
Right.
never leave." But yeah, so I think in that case and we're in Canada, so, like, we know he doesn't have a gun, like, we're good. Yeah, so I think in that
You
case
can't apply that to Texas, I don't think.
yeah,
You
you
can't
know, my
apply.
brother has been like,
You gotta
"You're
be
fine."
careful.
You know what? I don't need it anyway. So and Texas has really made me grow a lot too, just not from even, like, that kind of intensity, but just, like, America and the intensity of, like, dreams and dreaming bigger and not
Mm.
apologizing for it. A lot of that anyway, that's another topic, but I
Oh, no,
think
that's fascinating. I was actually asking you, like, what have
yeah,
you discovered through your journey? What have you learned most about yourself? I
mm,
think that's fascinating of what, the whole
yeah.
mindset of dreaming big, coming here. How did Austin and or just America, like, how did that thicken your skin?
Yeah, it just I think the most thickening of my skin has been through those, like, initial moments like we just discussed of, like, kinda getting taken advantage of and just, like, building a better policy for yourself. Like, for example, we don't do the work and then ask for half. That's
Mm,
crazy, right? We
right,
now have stages of payments, and it's 60, 30, 10, right?
right,
And it's always before we hand over the work, the final piece that you get that final payment. And then it's like, now we don't need to think about ever. I think a lot of people think that that's one thing to kind of close up that little
that's
topic
right,
is like, I think a lot of people think that a contract is this like binding thing that protects you and it's like no it's not really it's more of just like a clear conversation with your client
right,
and a clear set of expectations and yeah if you do decide you want to go through with suing someone then sure you can use it but the goal is to not, protect yourself and build policies that are like, so you don't have to go to
right,
to court. Like if you are building into a process that you're going to be paid before you deliver the final deliverables or stages of deliverables, then you're protected, right?
right.
So yeah, yeah. But then your question about what was your other question about building more like the changes from Canada to the US and
Yeah, you said that it was you learned a lot about yourself in that transition.
yeah.
What did you discover?
Well, I think at that stage, I was so, known. Our company was so known
Mm,
in Canada, so, it brought me right back to that beginning, and I
like
was at a
wow,
stage where
yeah. You're like,
yeah,
oh
like, I
no, I'm ground floor.
yeah, starting over, all over
Yeah,
again, and so it was a humbler for
yeah,
sure, and I used to be able to say, "Oh, that, skin technique, the medical aesthetic clinic down the street," or near a waffle bar or Old
right.
Bird, like all of those places, like we did those.
They're
So
like, I
like,
don't know any of that.
right. And then now it's like in a magical cutesy land where there's snow. There is a waffle company. I promise you it's real. Here's a picture of it. Would you like to work with me? It's like a very humbling experience to start to try to continue that traction. So it's very much like starting over in a lot with a fabulous portfolio, right? So a
Right.
little bit different in experience, but yeah, I didn't expect it to be such a radical restart.
Mm,
And yeah, so that was challenging, and I was lucky to, be connected because I was part of this I don't know if you've heard of EO, Entrepreneurs Organization,
yeah.
but there's one in Canada, and I already had been in it for 4 years, so then I just transferred to the Austin one, and that was,
Okay.
like, quite beautiful because that was, now all of a sudden I have this network of other entrepreneurs and support and events,
Right.
and So that was really, really nice. But, um, but like you're starting out with friends. I also would say that like our snow pesos, as I like to call them, are useless and worthless. They're worth like half. So that was really an adjustment to be like, oh my God, I don't really have like I need to start making these American dollars. And so the first year was uncomfortable because, everything that's $20 is really $40. And
Right.
so it
You're like,
was,
I have to redo my math of my business plan and my pricing, right? I
yeah,
mean,
yeah. And I
yeah.
mean, for the business, there was not really too big of a problem. It was just more of my personal life of like, okay, well, I guess my husband and I are going to have to like, just have 3 empty rooms for, like, a year, and then we'll furnish the other ones, for now,
Yeah.
and so, yeah, just kind of, like, it was a big, yeah, kinda like a little bit of an ego death and
Mm.
a restart and a reshift,
I
but
think
you
that's
just
it.
gotta
Like you
pivot or
said,
die.
humbling. Yeah.
Yeah, humbling.
And then
Yeah,
pivot or die, right?
yeah, you just gotta
How do
keep.
you adapt?
Yeah, but we just kept going, and then I'd say, like, other positives of America versus Canada is just, like, I love how straightforward people are here in general. If you're doing a proposal, I would say in Canada, people are very, like, polite about saying no, and
Mm,
they kinda lead you on, and it just takes and I get it. I mean, there's less there's also less businesses too, right? So
right.
it's sort of like and everybody really carefully assesses their business. The population in Canada is like 30 million people across the entire country, and then in Texas alone, there's 30 million people,
Right.
right? So not only like amount, but density.
Yeah.
And how many people are entrepreneurs? Not that many. Like, not that many entrepreneurs in Canada, whereas in Texas, it's like every single person. I'm
Right.
an entrepreneur. I'm a
Right.
coach. I do this.
I'm a founder. Yeah.
Yeah,
I've
yeah. So it was just
I've
kind
got
of
6 businesses.
exactly, and my wife does too, and my cat does, and yeah. So I think it's a really different environment, and like Meta's here, Tesla's here. We've
Right.
had like self-driving cars first, and so it feels very energetic, innovative,
Mm,
faster paced, and a little bit more competitive in that way, I guess, but supportive too. I
okay.
think I love how, like, in Texas, I go, "Hey, I wanna start a bar that is specifically for Yorkie dogs and golden doodles." And then, golden doodle owners will come and will drink, like, this type of beer, and then the golden doodles have, like, a little grooming station, and then a taco truck, and then this, and then it's like everyone's just like, "Yeah, that's cool, do it," you know? Whereas in Canada, they're like, "I'm thinking of starting an insurance company because there is this gap in the insurance market, and it's something that's so, like, like, necessary, and they've really thought it through, and then everyone's like, "Are you sure? Like, you have a pension right now, like, you might die," like, so it's a
Right.
very
The very cautious. Let's get
yeah,
all of
whereas here
our
they're like,
ducks
"Yeah,
in a row.
do it tomorrow, I believe in
Who
you."
cares if you lose money? Who cares
Yeah,
if you
you'll learn, and you'll be better, and you'll just
Right.
grow. It's a very it's like that kind of mindset, so
Mm,
I'd say those are, like, the biggest maybe some of the biggest shifts. I'm sure I'll think of more, but, yeah, the culture's
well,
so similar, but so different, I would say, like,
yeah.
we have Starbucks too. I was raised watching The Office and SNL, like, I'm the same in many ways, but it's just, like, yeah, like, the kind of shyness or the, worry is a little bit more Canadian, and
Yeah.
then everybody's just kinda like, "Go for it." Yeah,
I love it.
yeah.
What so being in that kind of environment, is there and now you're like you got businesses at every 5 feet of you.
Yeah.
Was there any kind of a breakthrough or an aha moment that
Mm.
has like shaped how you do business, what you offer, how you serve, anything like that?
A big aha moment. Like, when about how we serve our clients?
Yeah, just anything. Yeah. That's like
Um,
shaped like that's changed, it's impacted your business.
I think I think well, I think it's kind of a lot of people have this one, but I think storytelling was a
Mm,
big shift. I mean, that's always been the ethos of what we've been doing, but I mean, that's kind of even in Canada, right? Like near the beginning. But I just remember, like, once we tapped into instead of just being like, "Here's all the services we're offering you
Right.
and how you need it," telling them a story of, like, where they wanna be in the
Mm,
future was, like, that changed everything for me, and I've continued that throughout time, but I'd say that's kinda like in the first year we were just pitching, and I wonder if someone
right.
who's listening now is, like, interested in starting an agency or something like that, that would be, like, the biggest shift is not even, like, selling in terms of value and what that means to them in their future and the story that they wanna have as, like, a human
Right.
rather than just looking
Here's
at the
the
business.
features and benefits. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, here's the
Yeah.
features and benefits, and here's, like, you need a website, right? Like, that's fair, like, they may come to you wanting a
Right.
website, but I think it's really important to be like, "Hey, if we're sitting together in 5 years and we're having, like, champagne and we're just, like, so excited, like, what happened that made you so happy?" And you just kind of, like, unlock that's, like, a
Mhm.
question I love to ask, and
Yeah.
I think, like, thinking of like, you unlock so much more of why they're doing what they're doing, and then a website may not even be the right solution, right?
Correct. Yeah. I think there's a big myth out there in small business world that marketing is a checklist and you have to do these things because
Yeah,
we try to bust that myth. Because you don't. If you're a small business and you're trying you know, you've got only limited dollars.
yeah,
But where do you want to go from point A to point B? What's the highest priority? Yes, you need a website, but that might not be the highest priority at this
yeah,
given moment or in the next 6 months or the next year because you've got to do these other things
yeah,
that might not be as sexy,
yeah,
but they're still necessary.
that's big.
But they're like, but everybody, the big guys have it. And it's like, yeah, they have money. You don't.
Yeah, totally true. Oh, another aha moment that's more recent, I guess, is that I really think I used to be worried about, like, personally,
Mm,
about showing up as, you know, professional as possible. I started my agency really young, and
yeah,
so I wanted to show up as this, like, put together, sure, you know, careful
right.
about my words types of individual, and now I'm just like, so every time that I've embraced being cringe or not cared about
Hmm.
being cringe or unprofessional, as you say, I I've thrived, right? And
Right.
I feel like there was this like filter or block that
Yeah.
every entrepreneur
You
faces.
weren't showing your authentic self.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And I was
Yeah.
scared about how I would be perceived if I said or posted the wrong thing or and now I'm just like, nope, like, that every time that I've posted something where I've been, like, worried about it, like, even for
Right.
my personal brand or just, like, even just said something where I'm like, "I think they're thinking this. I have this intuition that, that's what's going on here."
Right.
"Oh, I don't think that's I feel like you're at" like, if you kind of have bold enough to say things to your client, like, "I think you're asking me this, but I have a
Right.
feeling there's this happening," you know? Like, and you get worried about saying that because 'cause you're like, "Well, I don't know. I don't wanna upset them," or something like that.
It's like,
Who
put it out
cares?
there, be bold.
Every
Yeah.
time that every time that I go through with that, people will it's just always positive. And
Yep.
even if they're like, "Oh, no, not really," I'll still uncover something else, right? I think people don't wanna talk to somebody who's perfect, and I don't think people wanna
Mm-mm.
have a conversation that feels very like you're not a doctor
Right.
when you're in this profession. You're not, like, we're so lucky that we can be so kind of, like, free in ourselves and silly and,
Well,
cringe. Yeah.
if you're supporting other businesses, I look at it I I think it's regardless of the industry you're in,
Mhm.
even in branding, it's what we call that messy authenticity of like it's okay to let the flaws out and but talk about them and
Yeah.
address them and because we're entering, a world where AI
Yeah.
is becoming every day
Yeah.
and it's going to be harder for people to filter what's real and what's genuine. So
Yeah.
I think that's what we're um people are connecting with each other because they see like you're real.
Yeah.
There's not a mask.
Yeah.
The more genuine. I think that's happening at the brand, company side, but also from an individual side, from leadership of when,
Leadership, yeah.
we want the veil removed.
Yeah.
We want to see the real you because I need to make sure you're human. Like I need to make sure that you're authentic to your words and your actions match. I think we're getting more and more of that.
I
Um,
I agree, and you're right, AI is part of that, but it's also like, yeah, you're gonna trust somebody. Like, the best thing, like, I yearn to just, like, pop or break that barrier or that mask on some.
yes.
That's
Yeah.
my favorite. You can see it happening,
You
right?
can see the ahas and or
They've
when
been
you,
wearing stuff more, or they're feeling very, like, tight to the chest, they're keeping things to the chest, and
yeah,
then you get them just kinda open up and reveal, like, what they really are looking for, like, especially in a prospect, that's, like, magic,
yeah,
right? And you get there by, yeah, not being a perfect, like, professional with a
right.
tie, like, you know? Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, that's a like we talk about in sales and stuff and I know we're trying to build trust very quickly. People only
Yeah,
do business
true.
with people that there's some level of trust. That's how you purchase any product. You're buying the tube of toothpaste because you trust it because it's what you've always done, whether it's, your that's what your mom bought or over time you've kind of it's a trust
Yeah,
factor.
right.
Or how you do, you choose your accountant and it's, in sales it's like how do you shrink that time of trust and connection.
Yes, that
And
is the goal.
yeah, it is the goal. And I think that's what you're finding is the more
Yeah.
authentic you are, you're resonating that realness and it's attracting other people because they're like, I get it. I see her, I know her, and I want to
She's
do
not
business with
trying to,
her.
like, trick me or something.
Right.
I think
Right.
that is a negative stereotype that we have to fight as marketers and
Uh,
salespeople.
Our industry is we've got so many snake oil salesmen out there. It
Oh,
really that was an aha for me. Like I told you, I
mm,
started my agency in 2013, but
yeah,
it really wasn't until I just thought I was competing with either big agencies that I'm not trying to compete with big agencies. We
mhm,
have big agency experience, but in a
mm,
boutique, package that is accessible to small businesses that have no chance of working with a large agency. That
right,
was our model. And
mm,
and I always thought I was competing with inexperience. And 2021, 22, I started having like the ahas of talking with lawyers that support small businesses and accountants that talk with small businesses. I didn't realize how much snake oil salesmen there were because of AI and digital explosion of there are companies that literally prey on small to medium businesses who don't know how to
yeah.
assess, how to ask the right questions, and there's a couple of lawyers that they're like they went off to start their own businesses thinking that they would be more general counsel and their phones were flooded and that's all they do all day every day 360 is help get out of contracts from predators.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
And a
from
lot of them
snake
are in
oil,
marketing?
so but and I feel that I don't know if you felt that when you walk into a room and you're talking about like we talk very differently about marketing and branding and advertising, like you ask questions that nobody else asks. But I hate marketers. I've been burned so many times. They've either churned through 6 or 8 or 10 agencies and I'm like, that's because that's like they're there to prey on you. And so, yeah, we've been on a mission to kind of help retrain, pivot,
Yeah,
help people understand what questions to ask, and also be aware of there are predators, period.
yeah.
And
And it's really hard to know until you've been in it once, and then it's hard to trust again, right? Like,
right,
that's
right.
so when you
Because they all
somebody has
look, we
burned,
all,
stop.
everyone starts saying the same thing. And so, yeah, we had to pivot to go, we don't want to sound like any of those, even though we do the things that but we do it differently. So we need to talk about that difference. Kind of like that's why I was so resonated with the your agency name of and your mantra. I
River
love it because it's like, yeah, that's we need to elevate the conversation and stand apart because there's not a lot of agencies like us
Mhm.
out there that think this way. We're getting
Right.
when I say that serve the small and medium business, there's a ton of big agencies that work
Yeah.
with the larger companies,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
not accessible. So there's not that many of us that have this
Yeah.
mindset that you and I, that we have. And so I'm all excited when I see another agent, like another founder that's, agency owner that's beating that same drum.
Yeah.
That's talk like breaking through.
Hey,
And I mean, it completely
hey.
just energizes me. We're setting a new category in our model.
Yeah, think of calling it something other than an agency or something. It's gotta be like
I know
another.
we've called ourselves the unagency before.
Yeah,
We're non-traditional. We're an unagency.
that's cute.
We're
I like.
we're a fractional growth department is kind of how
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
using that language. But yeah, it is getting through for people to trust because
Yeah.
they
Oh,
and sometimes it's not the agency either. It's sometimes
yeah.
that they've hired wrong.
Oh, the agency has hired wrong or the.
No, the company has brought an in-house person thinking,
Oh, yeah,
"Oh,
in-house versus not
yeah.
in-house is a whole thing too, right?
Oh,
That's like
yeah. Yeah.
and sometimes it can be great for certain roles.
Right.
Yeah, like, sometimes I would even recommend, like, in-house for certain
For certain
like
tasks. Yeah.
yeah, like, for, medical aesthetics or something, it is nice to have somebody who's just always collecting all the before and after photos and,
Yeah.
at the desk and, getting shots of
Customer service. Yeah.
yeah, but then when it comes to, like, building hiring somebody who can build a website and do the social and do the,
And do
app
PR and
yeah,
do like, no,
it's a little
you're
crazy. Yeah.
right.
Those are all
The
very
skill set, those unicorns are very rare.
very different things that they're doing. Yeah.
Yes.
One
Yeah.
person's gonna build resentment because they can't keep up with it all, and they're gonna do everything in 20% instead of 100%, and yeah,
Right.
it's tough.
Yeah, I agree. So as you've been building your business, is there any kind of like an operational called bottleneck that you thought you would never get solved, and did you solve it, or maybe you're in the messy middle of your operational bottle?
Like, in a process of, like,
Yeah, yeah.
a
Or
service.
maybe you're the bottleneck. That was a moment for me
What
back
you
in the
got?
day. I was the bottleneck. Huh? Oh, you become the operational bottleneck of like, oh
Like,
crap,
everything has to go through you.
everything has to go through me. And so, yeah, you have to delegate intentionally.
Yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. No,
How
I
did,
definitely have been too. I've been to that bottleneck before. Um,
how did you overcome it?
Me? I really do like to delegate. I think maybe my problems have been from over delegating for sure and being like, "Hey, like you gotta be a little more involved and oversee things." So for example, like I don't have a project manager anymore, but I used to have two. And I had like because I had a very traditional understanding, like I just saw, like I just kind of would research and like read things about agencies,
Mhm.
and that's what I'd seen. I'd seen that model where it's like, project managers kind of client facing and keeping track, and they kind of go into the meetings and then they give it to the design team and they give the
Right.
feedback back and forth. But they ended up being it was just too much of a middle manager for our like I think we were like 8 people then or something like that. So it's like it was just too much of an we didn't need that middle person,
Mm,
and I didn't know I mean, I thought they were doing a great job. They would come in and, I'd have my meetings with the 2 project managers, and I thought, "How great, I don't have to speak to every single designer anymore."
right.
And I think we
Or
just had
every
no board.
client. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm like, "What's going on? How are things going?" And that we'd have our huddle, and everything was great every time. Everything was great. And then at the end of the year, they're like, "But we lost money on this client. Oh, we
Mhm.
lost money on that client. Oh, we lost money on that client."
That client's
And I
going
was like,
away. That client's going away. They're not renewing. What's happening?
Yeah, so it's not great, right? And I realize, like, human nature, of course they're gonna try to pivot everything into being great to me,
Right.
right? And so I was like, maybe I need to look, and started to have some conversations with the clients directly, and yeah, like, there were things that were not great that were happening. And so I kind of now operate more like a, independent engineering firm or law firm where
Mhm.
every designer has to be their own project manager of that
Mm.
project, and it makes more sense because they know more. The project managers I was hiring were great with systems and processes, and that was great to have that there because they actually built those systems and processes instead of
Right.
just having the artists just be, like, chaotic about it. So
Right.
we did need to go through that, but now I was like, "Okay, well, I have those systems and processes. Now I just need to train and hire every designer
Mhm.
to be able to follow those." And that is a part of their role. It's kind of just a checklist, and you email them this, and you need to get this information from them at this stage. And it's just been a lot more smooth because there's no, like, why am I'm forgetting the word, but, like, broken telephone, I guess. There's no
Yeah.
broken telephone between the 2 of them, and, like, my designers are fully capable people who can show up in a meeting and defend their work passionately. They're passionate about what they do, like, like, it makes sense to have the person who's working on the project in the meeting and just give them some of those, like, management skills. And if you're too messy and you're not an organized person, then you end up not being a great fit for our organization, right?
Right.
Even if you're really talented. And that was another mistake I made too in the
Mm.
beginning, was just hiring these, like, super mega talented people, but they're not really great service providers, right?
Mm.
Like, they're so great, they're so talented, they can build they're artistic and creative, but they're not necessarily organized enough to be a service provider. And
Yeah.
or at least at our organization, or they need to be at a bigger operation where they have a project manager keeping them in line and babysitting. They're
Right.
basically were babysitters, right? So
Right.
I just kind of cut those two extremes and hire people that are more, yeah, that are a little bit more like freelancers in a sense. Like, they
Yeah.
are able to organize
A
their
little bit
own,
hungry, but also, yeah, they're
organize
kind
their
of
time.
operating.
Well, client can keep track of a
Mm.
checklist like that, and then also be creative within that, right? So,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of designers that and people that are like that when you kind of bring them in with that expectation, right?
Right.
So that was a bit of a messy, like, shift, I guess, of, like, getting rid of people on each side, but, like, now I feel like we have a very solid model, and boy, has it
Mm.
affected our bottom line to get rid of those 2 salaries and just
Hmm.
kind of focus on, yeah, maybe our designers now are a little bit of a higher cost because they have more roles and responsibilities, and they're
Right.
usually somebody who's a freelancer that we're bringing in, like, that's what I look for now.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, 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 it's a lot different. And I actually work with a lot of freelancers too. We've
Mm.
actually moved to working contract a lot. Like,
Yeah.
I don't have full-time staff as much as I did before. I thought that
Same
was the
here.
normal,
Yeah,
basically everything. Yeah,
we switched our model. We started out with just all 1099, like, because I
same.
came from,
Yeah.
big agencies, 2.5 decades. I had a huge team, and that was like when I started the company, I'm like, "I will never do a performance review again." Like,
Yeah,
I hate them. Uh, but then I realized, okay, I need to hire staff. I went through that evolution, and then I'm back to a hybrid of
yeah,
there are certain roles that need to be employees, and there are others that don't. And I don't need to have that overhead or that
yeah,
stress. I need to have that flexibility and that adaptability to work
yeah.
with our clients. So yeah, we've changed and not just been a hybrid of tens, but also with strategic partnerships
Mhm. Yeah.
for different tasks and programs.
That's a
So,
huge one,
yeah,
probably similar to you. I don't know if you're the same, but, like, we had in-house photographers even, and then I was like, "Oh,
yeah,
we don't need to do that. Like, we can just hire per
that's right.
time." Like, there or even website development is all contract because it's
That's right.
like, sometimes you need a Shopify, sometimes you need,
Sometimes you need
Word.
Squarespace. Sometimes you need this. And yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So go to the expert instead of just trying to get one full-time developer to try to
yeah.
figure out all the different
Well, also,
languages.
and it's like that one time developer, it's like he might only be versed in one thing. And so how
Yeah.
do we have that flexibility and freedom to
And
deliver?
then there's flow with the other one, so, like, why would we
Yeah.
do that when we can just and then also another thing about moving to contract that and this is all just because there was a certain time where there's a certain structure and you read about that structure and you think
Mhm.
that's what you're aiming for. But yeah, you don't need to follow that structure. You
That's right.
can make up you can look at like I looked to the reason I got inspired to get rid of my project managers was because I went to a law firm and I needed a desk. So I went
Mm,
to like I was in Edmonton for a while just because of family. And so I went to their I was using their law firm as like a rentable
mm.
desk and just kind of being around it all, and I asked them I was curious about their business model and everything. I actually kinda wanted to, like, help them rebrand, but they yeah.
Right.
But, uh, but I was just curious about their business model, and then I was like, "Oh my god," like, that I was like, that make it was just an aha. So, like, I actually think if you own an agency, like, really get rid of the idea of the structure of an agency because it's changing, and the ones that are holding on to that old model are suffering.
Oh,
Those
yeah.
big agencies that are working with Coca-Cola and all it's
That's right.
crazy. They are all remote too and on contract now. They all have 3 employees instead of hundreds. Like,
Yeah.
radical
They're
shifts are happening, and with AI, like, we need to just completely scrap any kind
right.
of, like, structure that existed before us.
Exactly. And now we're trying to coach like the companies to not be afraid of working with agencies
Yeah.
that have more flexible models of structure, organization structure. Because that's what
Mhm.
we get, when when we respond to like an RFP or working with like a purchasing department, they're like, well, you need to outline who your employees are, how many are, who's contractor, what's your partnership.
Yeah.
It's like, do you really give a shit about that? Like, why do you care? Like,
Look at
you've
the work.
hired us to do these 5 things. Shouldn't you
Yeah.
just ask about our processes? How do we deliver and the scope and the price that's gonna, take to make that happen? Why do
And,
you
like, hop on a
care?
call.
Yeah, because I look at it as, and this is what I told a purchasing agent, at a
Yeah.
Fortune 100 company, a big manufacturer, and they were like, "No, we need to know who's contractor and who's not." And I said, "Why?" That's like asking, me to reveal, like for Michelin or somebody to reveal, a salary, or for me to because it's how I pay them. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah. Or,
Like,
like or where
who,
the yeah.
uh,
Absolutely.
yeah. I
Absolutely.
mean, whether you're W-2 or 1099, that's a payment structure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so when
And
you're
it's
asking that, yeah,
becoming more common, right? Like,
right. That's
everyone is doing that. It's like, a bank being like, "You're self-employed, so we're not gonna give you" even though you're making just as much as somebody who's not self-employed, "So we're not gonna
right,
give you a mortgage," right? It's like, well, that's very antiquated because everyone is self-employed and the money is right there. So why does it
right,
matter where it came from? I mean, it matters that it's not drug money, but I just mean,
right.
like, like, you're
Well,
yeah,
we faced that, and so what we did was we couldn't get, yeah, no bank would look at us, but
yes,
we
and
bought the building based on like,
oh, you did?
and
Congrats.
then we turned it around and they said, we're like, okay, now we're going to take out a business loan, and they're like,
Mhm.
or basically in home equity, but in, and they're like, well, you're right. That was like, you didn't want to give us this, but now we have an asset that we can turn.
Oh my god, good for you.
But yeah, it's just funny how,
No, it's so, so silly, like, I think it's like, get on a call, look at the work, and, like, yeah, like, I have been asked, like, "How many employees do you have?" before they even, like, think of
yeah,
any other
it's
questions,
like,
and it's like,
who
that's not
cares?
it actually can be a marker of a really big problem. If
Right.
somebody has too many employees, if somebody has
That's
100
overhead. Yeah.
today, I would be fearful because if this was 10 years ago, it'd be different, but, like, and I get it, why that would
Right,
be
right.
a marker of success, but now I would be like, "Ooh, 10 full or 100 full-time employees for an agency," even if they have
Yeah,
Coca-Cola as the client or these, like, huge mammoth clients, I'd be like, "I'm
right.
so concerned," because Coca-Cola is also shifting and using tiny agencies, and I think their
Right.
latest ad just used AI. I saw it. I think that's
Yeah,
been, like that's something on LinkedIn I just saw, they're like, people are furious that the latest Coca-Cola Christmas ad is, like, just using AI, like, they're not even hiring animators anymore, so it's like, like the times that we're in right now, flexibility, like the ability to
Flexibility
pivot
and adaptability.
fast that should be number one priority. And if you're small and lean, that should be a marker of like this company is being responsible, right? And
Right.
and that I don't know. I think right
Well, and
now
I
that
look at that just beyond agencies. Like I would be,
yeah,
when we coach, businesses as they're scaling, especially
mhm,
small, they're like, oh, when I get to this, I'm going to hire all this marketing staff. It's like, why?
yeah,
Or like
yeah,
focus on growth experts. Focus on somebody about operations and systems and processes that you can scale. That's where you need to hire in them. Or if you've got a product, focus on your product development people. But even then, look at things fractionally. I said, you know, that's like you going, no one would say, I need to go hire my full like legal staff.
yeah,
It's like there's some things that's like business it's already been the category of that's how law firms will always stay recession proof because that's
yeah,
not an employee. Like for most
yeah,
of the time, like for a company at scale will always go to their law firm and they just spend more money with the law firm, right? If they need
yeah.
other things or accounting firm, right? Or a bookkeeping. It's like those are things have already been like a known of course we just go to those firms for fractional support. We don't need
Yeah.
those employees. But for whatever reason, marketing, even like some things in operations, it's or in product design have felt like
There's a
it needs
lot
to
of like
be
facts, right?
yeah.
Like a lot of companies could be 4 or 5 people and they are all
Oh,
contracting and they could be and I mean, I don't wanna like shoot myself in the foot here, but like if you were hired all of my team in-house, you're stuck with us, right?
right,
But if you're fractional, you go, "Okay, I'm gonna try them for 2 or 3 campaigns, and then, you know what, I'm just curious to see what else is out there."
right,
You go get another one, you see they suck compared to us, and then you come running back. No, I'm just kidding. But like, like it's like it could, but you may decide if you're working with a company that you're like, okay, well, kind
right,
of, I've gotten to this level with them, and now I need something else, and now you don't have to worry about giving people notice periods and payout
right.
packages and like, I
It's
mean,
so
I
much
think
easier
like,
to have that. We,
yeah,
like I said, we come in and we're like a adaptable plug and play
yeah,
of
yeah,
of do you might need SEO, you might need a website, or might need media campaigns, or you might need I call it the inside out of you got a team culture problem
yeah, yeah.
that we might need to go and smooth that out because you're churning clients because you have a toxic problem internally.
Right, and they might not have seen that if they had
And
it
they
in-house,
don't see it
'cause
unless they have
the
an
in-house
outside
person's gonna
perspective,
do
right?
what I experienced where they go, "Everything's fine." If they're in-house, if you're paying them, everything's fine.
Everything's
"You're
fine.
great, I am great." "Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes, man," right? Whereas if you hire someone from outside, you're getting somebody
right.
who has their own agency in terms of, like, their own ability to say what they want, and I think, on our level too, like, when I'm hiring somebody who's contract, another big one is scope creep because
Mhm.
I'm if I'm hiring someone for this fixed price, it's their responsibility to make that price work, whereas if
That's
I
right.
hire an employee on an hourly rate, then their entire
You're
goal is
rewarding for inefficiency. We said
yes. Yeah.
yeah, they're rewarded for an inefficient. Yeah,
So
we've
it's like, I think that really is due for a complete overhaul of people's
yeah.
understanding of successful
Well,
agency. Kind
and here's where I usually blow like when I sit with CEOs and companies who go, I think we need to hire, we're debating on do we hire the agency or do we just hire, one or two people
mhm,
and I want to go, okay, like I'm just gonna we need to hire a social media person. And I'm like, okay, so a full-time social media person, you're gonna pay X, a full-time that's 2,000 hours a year. Or or 1,800 if you take out, if they only work 37 hours a week and
yeah,
they take 6 weeks of vacation plus holidays. It's 1,800 hours in a
yeah,
year. Do you really need 1,800 hours of focused on managing 3 platforms? And then
right,
you have to hire an agency or somebody else, a graphics person to help with the
admin,
content.
campaigns or
the
whatever.
campaigns or whatever, but you're stuck with that person. And people go, "How do you know it's 2,000?" I'm like, don't hire someone unless you know that you can fulfill those hours. Like that's
Yeah,
a, I mean, because an agency, we're used to hours are inventory. That's our
yeah,
capacity.
yeah.
And so we're all versed with how do I
Mm,
manage the inventory and the capacity
yeah,
of and the
right.
flexibility of like if I'm telling you I don't need all these people and overhead as an agency that's serving multiple companies, why should you, one company, have to
Yeah.
hire somebody full time? Like, that's insane to me. And
And in
they
a
look at
weird
me, they're
way,
like,
you have
I've never thought of
like
it that way. I've never thought about hours as
no.
inventory as employees before.
Yes.
And yeah,
And you're maybe having 3 or 4 people per hour really working on it. You know what I
right.
mean? Like, you're kind of like your entire team of experts is all putting their heads
That's
together
right.
to find a solution and make it
To
work
move in
rather than
it. Yeah. So
yeah, and
they're
one person they're gonna spend half the time learning, not executing, whereas it's just like
correct.
execution if you hire an agency. Yeah.
Right.
No, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, the radical shifts need to happen for sure.
I love it. I love it. All right, Rebecca, what are things that it's not on your resume or not in your, on LinkedIn? What's something that would surprise people? I mean, I know you're an animator and you came from Canada, but what's something that's kind of interesting that our listeners would love to learn about you? I'd love to
Well,
learn about
I
you.
mean, it is a little bit on my LinkedIn, but I do stand-up comedy with my husband, and it is something that,
So is it like
we
a duo that you guys are on stage together?
we're not necessarily on
Okay.
stage together, but we have a podcast together too called Hump Days, and we post well, we're the Rosellis really, but we try to post every week on Wednesday, and, like, we just kind of we started it out of, like, really wanting to understand, like, each other and have, like, fun, unfiltered conversations about, like, romance and relationships, but then also, like, a lot of the time we're just talking about, like, making fun of celebrities and celebrity culture and, like yeah, like, we have
So it's like
different
your pillow talk, but on a podcast.
yeah, yeah, so it's a lot of fun, but, yeah, we're just, like, growing that and figuring it out, and
I
yeah,
love it.
and that's
And it's called
probably
Hump Days?
Hump Days, yeah,
Uh,
and, we're the Rosellis, so that's kind of what our channel's called, and, yeah, so I really like to and in terms of stand-up, it's individual, but it's, like, yeah, a big passion of ours, and I think, like, yeah, comedy is the truth, but faster as well, and so it kind of, like,
yeah,
rings true to what we were talking about earlier,
that's right.
just, like, a really powerful tool I just think people need to be able to, like, say things for what it is, and, like, there's a lot of relief that
Mm,
comes from being able to, like I think there's a lot of, like, love and romance gurus out there that are very therapeutic about the way that they approach
mm.
things, so I think it's fun to have, like, the husband and wife's perspective, and, like, we don't have that like, we're not professionals in any sense of the word, and so it's sorta like yeah, just nice to have some, like, real talk about those topics, so
I
yeah.
love it. I love it.
Yeah, cool.
All right, so if you had to sum up your journey in one word, what word would define that journey?
Looking back, might have a bit of rose-colored glasses, but I think evolving, which is
Mm,
kind of pivot or die, so
yeah,
evolving, maybe even resilience. Yeah.
those are
Yeah, that's
great words.
just kind of yeah, not who I was yesterday?
Yeah, pivot or die. If looking ahead to the next chapter in your journey, what word do you want to define that chapter?
I think unstoppable. I just really want to not get in my own way and just
Yeah,
yeah, keep
I love
pushing
it.
forward. Yeah. Becoming more
All
of
right, now
myself.
that's right. Be be bold. Be
Yes.
fearless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fearless is a great one too.
Yeah, that is a good one. All right. I asked this question of all the founders, and it's funny that you said that this is a question you ask, your clients. But if I came to Toston with some champagne in hand
Yeah.
a year from now, 1 year,
Yes.
what would we be celebrating? What's a
Mm.
win that we'd be celebrating?
I would love to I would love to have done one tour. I wanna do a comedy tour. I would love
Hmm.
to open for somebody. So obviously my dream would be like someone like Nikki Glazer or something like that.
Yeah.
And to be able to just like open for her on a few stops of her tour would be a dream for sure, and be able to meet some of my idols that way, and not only meet them, but be able to like work with them in a sense. That would be really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll manifest that. We're putting it
Yeah.
out there.
Thanks.
And then what's the best piece of advice, whether it's, advice that you've kind of adopted, but or that you've been given from other entrepreneurs, business people that you kind of have taken to heart that you can share with our listeners?
Yes. I think stay messy and like don't wait until you're ready, because that never
Mm,
really comes. And that's kind of just for life in general, but
yeah.
absolutely for business. Like we were kind of talking about it earlier about the idea of like you're earning your MBA, like you can
Right.
study and make a bunch of business plans, and
But
I'm not
until
I'm
you
not
get in
saying
there.
don't, like you can, but it's not gonna go to your plan. It just won't. So I
Yeah.
think it's better to just not have it all figured out and accept that and
Mm,
know that you never really will, and just keep building it. And I also think perfection kind of kills momentum anyway. So
mm,
you have to keep knowing that it's going to be messy the whole time. And I think that also speaks to my journey of restarting, right? It's
right.
not, you're never going to just like have it perfect and shiny and it's going to work out. You're always going to be shocked by like, it's always going to be work. It's always going to
That's
be a
right.
lot of change and work. And yeah, it's never going to be all figured out. So
That's right.
yeah.
The messy middle.
And momentum is built by moving, and movement alone. That's all. That's all it's built on. You have to
That's
just keep
right.
going. Yeah.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, this was amazing. I love talking to you. But before we
Same.
go,
I've been really having a good time.
where can people get a hold of you, support you, connect with you, learn more about what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, I love Instagram. I'm Rebs Rosselli, so but else you can just look up Rebecca Rosselli. Connect with me on LinkedIn, Rebecca Rosselli. And then I think, yeah, you can definitely check out Pivot or Die. We have an Instagram as well. Check out Hump Days. Pivot or Die also has a YouTube channel that you can take a look at some of our content on there too. I like to kind of look at brands that are like pivots that have really worked out, and
Mm.
pivots that have really failed, and why, and what I would have done differently. So yeah, those can be a lot of fun as well to check out.
I love it. Well, we'll tag you on all of that when we launch this episode. So
Amazing.
I love this show. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
This was so
Yeah,
much
nice to
fun.
meet another agency owner.
I know it. I love talking to agency owners. It's one of my favorites. But that's a
Yeah.
wrap on today's chaos. But the journey doesn't stop here. If you found yourself nodding along, laughing, or even yelling, "Oh, same, Rebecca, I cannot wait." Make sure to subscribe, share, and leave us that 5-star review on Spotify. Or you can dig deeper into our founder resources and our tools, more episodes over at orangewhip.com. That's orangeuip.com. It means work in progress. So until next time, stay curious, stay scrappy, stay messy, and remember, we are all a work in progress.